Let's give all the graduates a round of applause again. I want to give a special thank you at this time before we have the introduction to our speaker. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Jeremiah Ramberg. I know we already thanked him earlier, but you know, it's like when you do something and somebody says thank you and then you do something else, they should say thank you again, not just, I told you thank you back in 1972, that should count forever. So I want to give another thank you because when we had the pandemic, I don't know if you all remember that, there was a little thing going around. A lot of people closed, a lot of businesses went out of business, some churches still have not made a comeback. We kept the college open, we kept the church open, and one of the big things we had to do is move to digital. We had to do everything online, we had to do Zoom and Facebook, and we really weren't really equipped to do that, so we had to get some equipment, we had to learn how to do things. Dr. Jeremiah picked that up. He did videos of he had puppets, and he would do a puppet recording of the puppet and then do himself. He was the puppet and himself, but he did them at different times and then edited them together so it looked like he was talking to someone else. I mean, the amount of things he did was just unbelievable. Then he came to the Bible college, and every one of our, I want you to listen, every one of the classes I told you we do, he puts on Zoom. You say, well, that's easy. I do Zoom all the time. But not when you have classes that have to be stopped, and they have to be recorded, and they have to have lessons sent out. And there was so much that he had to do, but because of that, we were able to now go international. We now can offer all of our classes anywhere around the world because they're all on Zoom. So I want to give Dr. Jeremiah Ramberg another round of applause. And then I'm going to introduce Dr. Betty as soon as I ask if anyone picked up an extra hat, please give it back. It was Jeremiah's. Okay. And if you go home with two of them, God will not bless your degree. Okay. And if you, okay. Now I get to introduce my good friend, Dr. Betty Knighton. She has quite an impressive biography, and it's printed in your program. But I want to tell you a few things that you may not know about her and give a few accolades and accomplishments that you may not know about. Betty Knighton is not only an alumni of E.B.C.S. She had a degree when she came to us already, but then she earned a degree with us. She worked side by side with my mom, Miriam Donnally, in not only taking the classes, but then helping her run the college. And so when Tammy and I ended up taking the reins of the college, Dr. Betty didn't even lose a beat. Everything kept going just as smoothly as ever because she was right there to help us every step of the way. There's a famous book that she has. We call it Betty's Little Black Book. Betty kept written records. Yes, written records. Not just digital or on microfiche in the old days and then on digital nowadays or on the computer data banks. She kept in a little written book people's names and their classes and their grades and the semester. You don't know how many times things would come up. Somebody would come back after 10 or 15 years. Yes, I took a class. And it's like, well, do you have your report card? No. We couldn't find any record of them ever existing. Somehow they fell through the loopholes and we didn't have them. And there in her little black book would be a listing of the student, their grade, and the reason why it wasn't given a report card. Because they still owed a book report. Or they still had one assignment out. And it was amazing to go back to somebody after 15 years and say, yeah, I found out why you don't have credits for that class. Yeah, you never turned in your last book report. And the look on their faces, how could you possibly know that? Because of Betty's little black book. Now, the reason that's so amazing is because I believe that's how heaven's going to be. No, Betty, I don't think God's going to use your little black book. But he says if your name's not written in the Lamb's book, there's not going to be any discussion. There's not going to be any discussion. It's simply going to be opened. No, sorry, I don't see your name. And you know, I encourage all of you, if you don't know what I'm talking about tonight, listen closely as Dr. Betty comes and gives the word tonight. She not only helped my mom and run the school. She not only helped Tammy and I, but she's also a wonderful pastor. Some of you may not know this, but Dr. Betty has a great accomplishment in that she is the first woman to be an ordained pastor in her denomination. Now, I don't know about what you call breaking glass ceilings, but that's one my mom dealt with her whole life. As a young evangelist, she had people walk up to the pulpit. Back in those days, they weren't acrylic, they were wood, and took a hunting knife and stuck the knife in the pulpit and told her, "You best not be preaching tonight. I don't believe in women preachers." And Mom got up, opened her Bible, preached the sermon, took the knife out, and said, "If you tell God to tell me to stop preaching, I'll stop. But until He says stop, here's your knife."
Yay!
Now, my mom would be very proud of Dr. Betty because all these years she served. She served and she served and she served. She was a director of education. She did everything that was ever asked of her. And when they didn't have a pastor, when they were looking for a pastor, somebody said, "We should put Betty in as the pastor." And for a while you served as the pastor. Now you're the associate pastor, correct? And we are so proud of her. She also, Tammy, hold up my book. It's right there in the box. It's the only book in the box. No, who stole my book? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Anyway, I finished my second book. There it is. Hold it up high. There's my second book. And I would not have been able to finish that book without my publisher, Dr. Betty Knighton. If you're thinking about publishing a book, call Dr. Betty Knighton, because she is one of the best that there is. She is one of the best that there ever was. And I believe she is one of the best that ever will be. Give me a standing ovation because she deserves it. Dr. Betty Knighton, our chancellor.